My name is Teresa Matsura, and you're listening to Uncanny Japan. Let me tell you about a little experiment I'm doing. I'm trying to befriend a crow, or several crows, I don't know. At the moment, they all look alike, so I can't tell. I really like crows. I remember how they were acting all wonky on the day of the Tohoku earthquake, enough so that I took note. Then the earthquake struck, so I put two and two together, and I liked to pretend that they were trying to warn me and anyone who would listen. In fact, it could have been that they felt some kind of ionization in the air, or some electrical something or other. But I'm 700 kilometers away from the epicenter, so I don't know. I'm not sure how they knew this huge earthquake was coming, but I'm convinced they did. So now when I hear a crow outside, I go out, I say hello, I hold up some tidbit of food, and I place it on the cement wall in front of my house. I then hurry back inside. Depending on the crow, they'll usually wait until I'm gone before they swoop down and see what's on the menu for today's snack. Peanuts, almonds, piece of fruit, cheese, cookie. I peek from the window, and I delight at the whole thing. I'm hoping to get to the point where I don't have to hide. My son Julian used to do the same thing from his second-story bedroom window when he was in first grade. He said he wanted to make an army of crows, and I thought that was cute. Now, I think it's a worthy goal. Or, well, I hope to at least get to the point where before the big Tokai earthquake in my area, one of them alerts me, and together we can save the city. Anyway, I'm not very far along in my friendship venture, but sometimes Richard is teaching in the front room where my peeking window is, and one of the crows will come and start cawing at the house. He yells for me and says, "Derry, your crow is here." So I have to hurry up and find something to feed it. Let me tell you, it's a wonderful, important feeling being ordered around by crows. So today, I'm going to talk about Karasu, or crows. Not the crow tengu, because I talked about them in episode 32, but crow myth and folklore and superstitions. Would you like to explore the stranger, more obscure corners of Japanese culture? Dig a little deeper into superstitions, curious customs, and all those mysterious creatures that inhabit the land? If so, then this is the podcast for you. Uncanny Japan is where I, author Teresa Matsura, share all the fascinating tidbits I unearth while doing research for my writing. From the bizarre to the ghastly, and everything in between. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, how are you? I have good news. My little retold folktale, The Wife Who Didn't Eat, is finally up on a bunch of audiobook places. Libro FM, Libro.fm, the one I was talking about a couple times ago, that gives a little bit of their profits to local bookstores. They have it. Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Nook, and a bunch more. It's only an hour long, but it might be interesting to those who like Japanese folklore. It's my retelling of the story, slight reimagining, and a little commentary at the end. You can just search for Teresa Matsura or The Wife Who Didn't Eat. I think it'll come up on either search. Okay, on to today's show. Karasu is the word for crow in Japanese, and it can refer to the two main birds, the jungle crow and the carrion crow, as well as a couple of migrating crows that also go by Karasu. And that would be the Miyama Garasu, the rook, the Kokumaru Karasu, jackdaw, and the Watari Karasu, northern raven. All of them go by Karasu. Speaking of the two main kinds of crows, the jungle crow or the large-billed crow can usually be found in the cities of Japan or in areas above 1,000 meters. It's said they prefer tall, three-dimensional environments, while the carrion crow like to hang out in what is called two-dimensional spaces, rural areas, suburbs, and riverbeds. I don't really hear any complaints about crows here so much, but the bigger cities, they can be a nuisance, evidently. They're noisy, they steal coat hangers from your veranda and make nests in the power lines. Sometimes they cause outages. They're so smart, too, and may or may not steal that melon pond bread you're carrying in your open bag. But hey, they also keep the mouse population in check, so... Did you know that there are two crow castles in Japan? The Okayama Castle and the Matsumoto Castle. The Okayama Castle is in Okayama Prefecture, and it's also called Ujo. It's painted all black with gold trimmings, and it was finished in 1597. The Matsumoto Castle is in Nagano Prefecture. It's also all black and also stunning, and it's just called Karasu-jo. Before I get to the myth and superstition, let me tell you about a professor at Tokyo University, a Mr. Higuchi, who has been studying and observing crows for almost 50 years. In his book, he talks about some interesting crow encounters. He's named types of crow behavior, like car crows, who drop nuts where a car will run over them and break the shells so they can eat them, and stone-placing crows that put stones on railway tracks and no one knows why. Then there are the public bath crows that visit onsen and hang out there, and soap crows that go into bathrooms and steal soap. There are also small fire crows that yoink lit candles from shrines, and faucet crows that can turn on the faucets in parks. They use their beaks to turn the faucet just a little if they want to drink, or a lot if they want to fill up the sink and take a bath. I thought the small fire crows were really interesting, so I read some more. They're found near Fushimi Inari Shrine in Kyoto, and they will literally swoop down and steal a lit candle and fly away. They like to bury the candle under fallen leaves or in thatched roofs, which you can imagine is quite dangerous if the thing didn't blow out while they were flying or if it's still hot. Again, no one knows why they do this. My guess might be they don't like people. Another crow-related legend is Yatta-garasu, or Yatta no Karasu. It means 8-span crow. It's very big, and it's a mythical Shinto god that helps guide you. It was said to have guided Emperor Jimmu on his eastern expedition from Kumano to Yamato. It's a holy bird, and it's written about in the Kojiki and the Nihon Shiki. But one bit of important information that can't be found there is the fact that the Yatta-garasu has 3 legs. That little trait seemed to have popped up later in the Heian era, around 930. Now, there was a 3-legged crow from Chinese and Korean mythology whose stories did come to Japan, however, so it's a good bet that the original idea of Yatta-garasu in Japan merged with this similar bird myth from China. In Chinese mythology, though, it's believed to live in the sun. In Japanese mythology, it's believed to be an incarnation of the sun. So why the 3 legs? The Kumano Hongo Taisha Shrine in Wakayama Prefecture says that the 3 legs represent heaven, earth, and man, and also the 3 Kumano clans that once controlled the area. According to Chinese thought, the 3 legs stand for sunrise, daylight, and sunset. On the Korean peninsula, from what it sounds like is now North Korea, there were a people called Goguryeo, or Goryeo, and they believed 3-legged crows lived in the sun and turtles lived in the moon. And for some reason, I really like that. You might have seen a yatagarasu and didn't even know it. Take a look at the emblem for the Japanese Football Association, and you'll find a three-legged crow, one claw holding up a soccer ball. I'm sure that's something the ancestors never would have imagined. So the reason for today's crow show is not just my newfounded interest in making a crow army, but I happened to open my book on Japanese animal folk beliefs, and I turned to the chapter on crows. And ooh boy, the first several pages were all about crows predicting death. Back in the day, there were tons of superstitions about crows calling and announcing that someone was going to die today. The research in the book comes from different prefectures, so as usual, depending on where you are, it's all a little different, perhaps. But here are a few ways a crow can predict something bad is going to happen. Over and over again, I read that if the crow's cry sounds bad, Karasu no naki ga warui, it portends some misfortune. Or maybe someone is going to die. It's said that you can find stories from Okinawa all the way up to the Ainu in Hokkaido that were similar in that a crow's strange call or bad call would predict a death. It might not be in your household, but maybe your neighborhood or your village as a whole. It would be worse, though, if the crow, say, landed on your roof and then it cawed. In that case, you were the one that was in for some bad luck. Be someone falling ill, you falling ill, an ill person passing away, or a sudden death, or a fire. In some places, hearing a crow meant it was a warning that you should check all unattended fires, just in case. Apropos of nothing really, in the Kanagawa prefecture, in the Miura area, there was a superstition that there were 3 pets you should never keep: a crow, an owl, and a cat. I'm not sure why a cat. In Shimane Prefecture, Ohara-gun, it was believed that if a crow made a lot of noise, someone would get something called kawakibyo, or dry sickness, which I learned after reading more meant that you can eat and eat, but you'll still be hungry. It's thought now that they were talking about diabetes, so keep your eye and ear out for that. Crows calling out at night is bad luck. Over and over it was written about crows calling out, signaling a fight between a married couple, someone wandering off and getting lost. Or if the crow calls at dawn, a man from the town will die that day. But if he calls at night, a woman will pass. Lots of dying and bad luck. But then it got a little more interesting, saying that crows usually cry out twice. Caw, caw. And if you count how many times they call out, it can mean different things. Calling once isn't good. Calling out twice isn't good. But if you hear 3 caws, caw, 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 then someone is going to have a baby. Calling out 4 times, well, that's bad luck too. What's the worst, though, is if they cry out 4 times, then 2, then 4, then 2 again. It's like Morse code for crows. That would be 4242, or in Japanese, shi-ni, shi-ni. Shi meaning death, and ni indicates someone is going toward something. So if I may translate some crow for you, what they're trying to say is, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. Okay, let's move past death for a bit. Crows bathing. A crow bathing means that you're about to get a change in the weather, perhaps rain. Unless the crow is facing you when it bathes, then you're gonna die. Crap, that again. I don't expect you to remember this because you have a weather app on your phone, but if you're ever out in the wild and you don't have your phone, remember this. If a crow flies low and caws, it's gonna rain. If a crow flies west, the weather will get worse. If a crow flies from south to north, the weather will be good. If a crow calls out 3 times while flying, tomorrow's weather will be fine. If you find a crow that has built a nest high up in a tree, then there won't be any big winds or storms coming anytime soon. To the contrary, If you find your neighborhood crows building nests low in the trees, then you're in for some stormy weather this year. However, keep in mind that nests high in the tree might also mean that you're going to have some heavy flooding in your area. But hey, at least you won't have wind. A nest at the base of a tree means an entire year of sunshine, which never happens. Which is funny because I can't imagine a crow building a nest at the foot of a tree anyway. I told you they're smart. Let's get to some interesting stuff. How to avoid getting a curse put upon you. Well, if you're walking along and something gets into your eye, like a piece of dirt or dust or something, there's an old folk belief that tells you to look upward and say, "Take away the dragonfly and the crow." Then you spit. At least that's what they used to do in Fukui. In Ishikawa Prefecture, you would open your eyes, look into the sky, and say, "Fly from," state your own name's eyes, and into the crow's eyes. If you or a loved one happen to fall down and you don't want to get a bump on your knee or wherever, or have any swelling, you chant, "Bump, bump, don't become my bump. Go and become a crow's bump." If you ever thought about cooking up some crow's meat until it's black, or just boil it, well, that was thought to be a miracle medicine for phlegm. That's Kumamoto Prefecture, by the way. But don't do that. That's a bad idea. Cooking and eating crow. Or how about in Fukui and Okinawa, among a few other places, that thought crows were messengers of the gods, so you're never to kill them. Screw your cold and your phlegm. But then again, in Fukushima Prefecture, it was believed that they were demonic birds because they would carry fires into homes and burn them down. Remember what I said earlier about small fire crows? I guess it's always been true. To keep the crows appeased in Fukushima, they would place wooden perches on two sides of the roof so they could just sit there. Oh, here's an interesting one. If you wear your kimono inside out, you'll become a crow. You can try that one if you want. Here's something cool that I actually knew a little about. I read ages ago that an old wives' tale said praying mantis eggs would cure drooling. I'm not sure how. I forgot if you eat them or what. But anyway, it's weird, I know. But then I just learned that people used to call praying mantis eggs crow's drool. How about this? If you want to tell a male crow from a female crow, you watch the way they cross their wings. A male bird will cover their left wing with their right wing, and a female will do the opposite, cover her right wing with her left. And lastly, basically, a lot of places believe that crows could be gods or demons, depending, so it was best to be nice to them. For example, farmers would harvest potatoes or something, and after the harvest, they'd give some to the crows. And the next year when they planted again, the crows would leave their crops alone. Quite nice. The very last superstition I'm going to tell you was so weird I had my Japanese friend read it. He read it again, and then he goes, "Why would anyone do that?" So what it was is, if you take a crow's nest and you burn it, and then you take the ashes, and then you make rice using the ashes in the water, and then you feed the rice to somebody, they won't have any babies. So there's some whacked out birth control for you. Okay, that's enough about crows for today. I want to thank everyone so much for listening and supporting the show, and I will talk to you again in 2 weeks. Stay well, and bye-bye. You've reached the end of the show, and I just want you to know how much we appreciate you listening and supporting us. Any subscribing, reviewing, and gushing to your friends, family, even random strangers really does help keep us going. If you have the means and you want to help a little more and get a little more, we are making extra content over on Patreon, all for only $5 a month. Or if you like to read horror, you might be interested in my Bram Stoker-nominated short story collection, The Carp-Faced Boy and Other Tales. 本当にありがとうございます. Thank you again, and I'll talk to you real soon.